You're listening to Lighthouse Conversations, brought to you by Lighthouse Haven, a spiritual home for your awakening soul. Lighthouse Conversations is a show where awakening souls gather to be inspired, connected, and enlightened. Spiritual spark plug and host Chelly Canales, that's me, will guide you through the twists and turns of your journey to a safe haven where you are finally free to live your best light. Each episode contains a conversation with a guest who has gone through a spiritual awakening, detailing their unique and life-changing experiences in an intimate and candid way. Although everyone's experience is as unique as they are, we all share one common thread. We're all seeking something. So, come join us on this journey and be prepared to leave with resources that will supercharge you into inspired action. Here's today's episode. Hello, awakening souls. Welcome back to Lighthouse Conversations. As always, I'm so happy to have you here. Thanks for taking the time to come and visit with us. So today's episode kind of hits close to home for me. How many of you out there are spiritual entrepreneurs, and how many of you have abundance blocks about it? So it's interesting. I find the teachers, the healers, the people who do this really deep, beautiful work often find themselves undervaluing themselves and not charging what they're worth, not realizing that some of the experiences of their life, whether it's working for a corporation or nonprofit or the life experience they have, the time they took to create their products and services, all of those things are very worthwhile and very worthy. You never hear people in finance or lawyers say, I don't know if I feel right about charging for this. Like, it's providing a service. I feel like I should just give that away. That doesn't seem right. Every service that you provide is helping someone potentially. And if somebody receives that and you receive the energy of money in exchange, well, that completes the circle and it's a really beautiful thing. Today's guest, Lauren, is fantastic. She's a business coach and she works primarily with spiritual entrepreneurs. We have such a great conversation about what kinds of things hold us back and how we can overcome those very challenges in order to share our gift with the world and make a great living. She has some of her clients making $10K a month at this point in time, which I think is pretty fantastic. So let's take a listen and hear some wisdom and learn how we can rise to the next level of our business, life, and career. Enjoy. And welcome to the show, Lauren. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to speak with you today and maybe share some wisdom and golden nuggets for your audience as well.
I can't wait to receive that. And I'm so happy you're bringing that to the audience. And I love your story. So you help people who have their own businesses, often in the spiritual field, and you help people, because we'll talk about this more later, because there's sometimes this block between like, I'm a spiritual person, I can't charge money. Of course you should make money for helping people. It makes so much sense. So tell me, how did you get to the place to where you wanted to help others do that? What was your spiritual journey?
So I started my company 2.5 years ago. And when I started my company, I was offering services like photo shoot management, event production, video management, because I had been a large scale event producer for 5 years here in Southern California. So when I branched off on my own, I just started offering services in that realm. And I soon realized that if I didn't take my expertise online, I would be in the physical workspace for the rest of my life. And I really wanted to have location freedom. So I buckled down for 6-8 months and I taught myself how to take my services online. I taught myself how to create an online offer. And then I taught myself marketing. And I just went deep into the space of sales funnels and membership sites. And once I figured out how to do that for myself, I started offering these services to other experts, not experts necessarily in the wellness and the spiritual space, but just experts who wanted to scale their business. During the same time of all of this is when I say I had my spiritual awakening. I had gone from a space where I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week for 5 years straight to working for myself and now having time to sit with all the past traumas of my life. Yeah. So yes. I started diving deep into healing the past traumas, which led me to breath work and Reiki and all of the wonderful things in the healing space. And that's when I started to realize that the skills that I now had, I could help those in the wellness space with. So that's what's led me to helping spiritual facilitators scale their business to 10K or more a month.
Can I just recognize what you said here? Like having the time to sit and look at everything is what so many people have experienced this year because of COVID and isolation and quarantine. It's like the rug got pulled out from so many people who never actually had the time from that 60, 80-hour work week to
Mhm.
sit with what's going on. And I can speak to that very personally. It's like, who am I if I'm not always doing something or needed somewhere or given some kind of feedback about who I am, right? So
Mhm.
suddenly it's you and those things that were like, "Hey, I've been here the whole time." So how great of you to get to that point where you could actually look at that. Tell me a little bit more about that experience and that time for you.
So it was about 2 years ago that I started, diving into past traumas that I knew had happened in my life that I had suppressed. And I went
Yeah.
deep into, like I said before, breath work and Reiki. But what ended up happening with me in 2020 was even deeper than that, because now I'm officially by myself. I have time,
Yes.
and I started to realize that I had certain patterns in my life that I had never dug into. And I started digging into them. And I recently was diagnosed with adult ADD. It was mind blowing that no one had ever come to the conclusion of that when I have every single sign, attribute of ADD, and I've had them my whole entire life. But because I personally was never just sitting with myself and saying, why can't I pay attention? Why, when I walk in a room, do I forget something? Why do people say I do certain things randomly? Why, with other things, am I hyper focused to the point of obsession?
Yeah.
Like, why are all these things happening? And then once I dug into it even further, it came out that I had ADD.
There are such gifts for this time, for as difficult as it is, there's growth and there's revelations that come to the surface, which I can imagine, are not only beneficial for you, but that helps you hold space for your clients because your breadth
Definitely.
of knowledge and experience allows them to know that you also know and that you care
Hmm.
deeply. Because like when you've been through something, you were just that much more available to their needs and their pain, their experience.
Exactly.
You'd say that was the case, yeah.
Hmm.
Tell me about your clients and have you noticed like these revelations that you're having? Have you seen this in the people that you're working with as well?
So the growth that I've gone through over the last 2.5 years, my own journey was what I would say very deep, very spiritual. I had to overcome so much in taking the next steps in my business and growing my business. There's a lot of trauma that comes up when you step into public speaking, really sharing your story on social media.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
it's interesting because all of the strategies that I've had to use to help my own business, I'm helping my clients with it. And I work with them and through certain things with them with mindset blocks on abundance, mindset blocks on getting paid what they're worth for their services, showing up on social media platforms, public speaking. I help them through all of that. And it totally changes their business and their life. I have clients now who are hitting 10K months. I have a former pharmacist who, in her business, she just hit 15K last month.
And what is she doing now that she's not a pharmacist?
She's doing business coaching for pharmacists.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So she's helping other pharmacists create their own online based business.
Oh, we have so much to talk about. I want to address the things that come up when you make yourself available to the public. There's a vulnerability that has to be there, and there is this fear of judgment, this fear of trolls, which are a real thing, let's be honest. It's amazing the incredible people that I speak to like you who have these beautiful things to offer, right? And how many haters they actually end up getting. I interviewed someone who makes these gorgeous pies and she's like, I get hate mail about my pies, and you just wonder, what is it? Well, is it, first of all, possible to exist in this space and not experience that? Frankly, I don't think it is. I think that goes with the territory. So if we accept that, because it's hard to do, and I also do it in stages, like one step, like I'm a spiritual person. Okay, how did that go? Are we received? Okay, okay, great. Here's my course. Oh God. Okay, now people think I'm selling this. Am I all right? And so baby steps help, but I guess I'm asking for advice from what you've been through. What do you
Mhm.
recommend to deal with that?
So, with anything, I always am an advocate of launching, getting something out there, just doing it, and then optimizing from there. And what comes into that as well is receiving any positive or negative feedback. What's interesting about haters, trolls, and negative feedback is that we can control what we do with it. So, you can control how you react to it. And you can control the conversations you have with the person who just said that to you. So you can take that negative energy and you can turn it into positive energy. I recently had someone who commented on a post where I was sharing a client success story. A client had reached 13K in sales, and she wrote back, well, this seems fishy to me. And
Ooh.
at first, ego came in, and I was like, hater. Oh no, someone hates me. And I went into that mode, and then I was like, wait, no, Lauren, you can control this. So I just wrote her a message back and said, hey, what's going on? I'd love to talk to you about the comment you made. And I turned it into a positive. And it's hard work. It is hard work to turn things into a positive, especially when it's negative. The other lesson in this as well, and I'm going through a huge lesson right now on detachment, but also having detachment from what you create in your business.
It's so personal, but it shouldn't have to be, right? It's different
Exactly.
than you.
It's different than you. And ultimately, like, you're here to help other people. You're here to solve problems for people. You're here to serve people. It is something you do. And yes, it is a part of you, but it's not 100% you. So once you can find the fine line of detachment, that also is really helpful when you receive any negative energy.
Because that way, if something doesn't launch the way you think it should, it's
Mhm.
not, I'm a failure. It's, well, maybe I have a learning, a lesson I had to learn from this experience and this product that isn't me. It doesn't reflect my value.
Exactly. Something that happened to me just this week, which at first I was mortified when this happened, but then I realized, wait a minute, this is just an opportunity for you to grow. I had finally hit 10,000 followers on Instagram, and I was so excited to get the swipe up button. That's why I've
Yes.
been going for 10K, is to get that swipe up button. It was a glitch in the matrix. The next day, my account was down to like 8,800 followers. I, in fact, did not hit 10K. Something happened. And I've heard from several people where their accounts went up and then went back down. And at first, again, mortified, ego came in. Oh my God, I shared on my story. I hit 10K. People are congratulating me. And now it didn't happen. Like, this is mortifying. It's embarrassing. And I was like, wait, no, you are controlling this, Lauren. You have the opportunity to make this positive. And then so I just, said in my next story, hey, this is what happened. I'm going to take this up as an opportunity to create better content and to build my community up even more.
I like how you reframed that. And honestly, I don't think anyone out there was like, oh boy, look at her. She really, she looks really bad right now. I don't think anybody's actually thinking about, I don't know. Do you watch Schitt's Creek at all? This is like one of my favorite shows.
I went into it for a little bit, but then I liked it. So I was like, I can't get hooked. I don't have time for this right now, but it's so good.
It's so good. There is this line where the character Alexis was talking to the character David, and they're driving, and he's, worried about his driving test. And she's like, David, number one thing you need to learn is that people are not thinking about you the way you're thinking about you. And to me, it's like that pings in my head, that little nugget of wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom in that show, let's be honest. But I take that and I'm like, okay, you think this is some embarrassing, mortifying moment that you cannot get out of. And truthfully, it probably hasn't even crossed anyone's mind.
Oh,
So
yeah.
why worry about it? We internalize it so much. And do you think it's just spiritual entrepreneurs that take everything so personally, so
So
internally?
So something we touched on, maybe it was before we hit record, but we were talking about how in the spiritual space I deal with a lot of my clients who have abundance blocks, money blocks, and I've tried to get down to the root as to why. And there's other blocks in this space that I haven't dealt with other experts that I worked with previously. And I'm like, what is in this spiritual healing and wellness space that causes these blocks? And the thing that I've come up with is that this community gives so much in the spiritual space. They're helping other people so much, but they're not receiving on their end for business up levels and
Mm.
overcoming limiting beliefs that happen when you're up leveling your business. So a lot of times, the first time I'm working with my clients, it's the first time they've ever stepped into sharing their story authentically on social media, speaking on other people's platforms, charging what they're worth. They've never actually done that before, even though they're offering group sessions, retreats, one-on-one sessions. they're still in a space where they're just like doing it
Yeah.
rather
Yes.
than a strategy and business mindset behind it. So I think that's what the switch is with this community, is switching from being a spiritual healer to being a business person.
And it's, something that, okay, I'm just going to speak from me because I am
Mhm.
this, right? It's something that I just think will either work itself out, or if I'm sincere enough and have the right amount of, that it'll just work out. That's just not going to happen.
The other thing too, is you kind of touched on it briefly, is this space is very much in their feminine,
Yes,
very much
yes.
in flow, very much in feminine. And so when coming into the masculine side of having, launch plans, marketing plans, firm dates, that is a new space as well. So getting that balanced out between masculine and feminine, it does take some energy, time, and work. But once that balance happens, it's a very beautiful space to be in.
I'm going to have to work with you at some point. So I was just putting that out there.
Yes, I would love that.
I've seen myself, but I do have a large community of spiritual people that I think run into the same thing. And you're like, why aren't you, making as much money as you made when you were in the corporate world or all this? Why is it?
Mhm.
Because it's just you and not attached to that entity that's already established or it belongs to someone else. Why is it harder to accept what
Mhm.
you're worth?
Mhm.
One thing I run into, and tell me if this is something, one of many things, tell me if this is something you've encountered as well with your clients. I've seen people take spirituality and take advantage of others and be like,
Mhm.
I am the only person who knows what's going on here. If you listen to anyone else, they're lying to you. I'm here and you can only trust me. And so you see people who are desperate for help, who really, would be willing to do whatever it takes to get better, and are kind of hooked into these charlatans, maybe for a lack of a better word,
Mhm.
out there for profit and not necessarily considering the well-being of the person. I know I would never do that, but in my mind, I'm like, I can't put something out there or offer something unless I know for a fact that they are getting absolutely everything what they need in the most with all the integrity in the world and with all the purity of heart. If it doesn't meet that standard, I'm afraid to put it out there.
Okay, interesting. So you already know that you're coming from an authentic space. And anyone who's listening to this right now is going to know I'm coming from an authentic space, or I'm coming from a space that's not authentic. So once you separate yourself into those two categories, um, what you're doing for people is solving a problem for them. You are serving them and you are helping them. So, and you're doing it from a place of integrity. So, there's nothing wrong with charging for your expertise, your knowledge, your education, the time you've taken to put this content together, all of the work you're going to be doing with your client. You're doing it all from the right space. So, yes, you do need to get paid what you're worth.
And it
And
just,
and
yes,
and also
yes.
another thing too, a lot of people in the spiritual space are coming from corporate. They're coming from other spaces. The experience and the work from you have that world as well is going to come into the play with the offer that you have for your clients now. So you're also wrapping up, 15 years of experience in the previous world that you were in. Surprisingly, people don't realize this in the spiritual world. When you start building out like a high ticket offer, you bring in all the stuff from your past.
It's so true. You think about the positions that you've held, all of those things are little dots along the way that create that path that took you to where you are today. And so
Mhm.
it's like your own unique gifts and skills. Yes, that's what you bring to the table, and the expertise and knowledge. That's a good nugget right there. I hadn't thought of it that way. When you think of all the accomplishments and the high level people, oh yeah, but makes sense to charge for that. Those are
Mhm.
things you've picked up and you are now able to offer. So when a client comes to you and they're like, help me, I want 10K a month, what journey do you take them on?
So what I have is it's a unique system that I created because I saw success for myself when doing this. Is I take them through some mindset work, some their present self and future self work, and then we actually start creating a beta test offer. And we do this first before creating a high ticket offer because I want them to get into the space of a new way of content creation, a new way of engaging with their ideal client. I want to get them building their community. And I also want to get them in a place of selling. And so by having them create a beta test offer, which is usually like a 4 to 5 week offer, low ticket, it gets them into that space and gets them experience before we go into high ticket. So those are for clients who have no experience selling, high ticket offers. I have some clients that come in who they're ready to rock. I have one individual, she started with me 2 weeks ago and she's already launching her high ticket offer.
What do you think is the difference there? Like, why do you think she was the person at that moment to say, I'm in, let's go all the way?
She has previous experience with high ticket. She has experience as a sales expert for another business coach. So she's just been immersed in the world longer and understands the structure and everything that goes behind it. So on that first onboarding call, I realized, wait a minute, she's ready. We're going to just push her into high ticket. Whereas I have other clients who are so new to this space that they need to go beta and then into high ticket. So I work with my clients one-on-one. And because of the one-on-one space, I'm able to analyze and assess where they're at and where they need to go.
So when you spend time with people, is there a certain amount of time working together where you're like, I don't think these blocks are ever going to go away, or maybe they're not ready, or, are there certain traits that come up or certain blocks that are like, that's the block that I noticed people can't seem to get past here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I'm very intuitive and I see and feel where my clients are at, and I will hold them in a space and not push them along if they're not ready for it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not one of those coaches that's like, you have to do this on this week, this time. I'm like, no, this person isn't ready. And I'm upfront with them like, hey, I see this is where you're at. What's going on? Let's spend another week or two on this before we put you into the next space, because each up level you go into in your business, new limiting beliefs come up.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's a trap that I run into sometimes, accomplishing one of the things, right? And I'm
Mhm.
like, I did it, hooray. And then realizing, okay, well, that's not the end of it. It's every time you decide to grow, to expand, more challenges will always arise.
Every single time. And you're always going to have fears. For example, people look at me and they say, you're a great public speaker, you're great on camera. Folks, I get nervous every time I post a direct to camera Instagram story, every single time. And I post them every day. But I know I need to do it because I'm helping my audience solve a problem. So I show up and I do it. But I'm still nervous every single day.
So, what techniques do you use personally to address the nerves and the fear and do it anyway?
So I do meditation. I participate in breath work, all of those things. But the biggest thing I do to overcome any of my fears is I just practice. I
Just keep
practice
doing it.
speaking in the mirror. I'll go and I'll be like, all right, I got to talk direct to camera today, and I'll go to the mirror and practice. I'll practice on my phone 3 or 4 times. I just practice until I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do it.
You're not defeating yourself before you even try. So it's like, okay, I get nervous on camera. I'm not even going to do that. That's just too much for me. We can't allow ourselves to get in that space of like defeatedness
Mhm.
before we actually even say, maybe we will fly. Maybe we will be so
Mhm.
capable and open up an entirely other aspect of our lives. You just
And
have
the
to do
the
it.
other thing to remember too is it's not about you.
That's right. It's
It's
about
about the people.
service.
It's about service. It's about the people you're helping. It's about the problems that you're solving. It's not about you. I'm not here for me. I'm here for you.
That's the number one thing I think that has helped me as well through all of this. It's like, even when I'm performing on stage, like as a, doing singing, dancing, all that, as well as stage, speaking as inspirational speaking or putting my
Mhm.
spiritual stuff out there. How can I best serve you? What do I hope is received? And it takes the pressure off of you because it's not,
Mhm.
like you said, it's not about you.
Always, even me when I am doing like before COVID, like public speaking, I am so scared of public speaking that afterwards it's as if I'm fainting and I'm shaking like so hard that people have to like grab me backstage.
Wow. Yes.
But I still did it because I had to get my message out to the audience because I needed to help them.
That's brave. And I
Mhm.
think the more brave people that are out there, the more other brave people show up. It's a
Yes.
ripple effect. All these other candles get lit by you
Mhm.
showing your light. What is your dream for your business? So you're helping people, you're doing this, you're rocking it. Where do you want to go?
So the next phases in my business, which I'm really excited about, is I'm to the point where I'm going to be hiring on a support team. I'll
Nice.
be hiring on accountability coaches, mindset coaches, and other experts to help support my clients. And I'm going to be dropping some new offers this spring as well. I'm going to be dropping a group coaching program, which I'm really, really excited about, And then in the long run, in-person retreats and workshops, whenever that can happen. I already have them planned out. I already have the venue in Mexico picked out. I'm ready to go. So that's the long-term goal, or, for 2021, that's what I see happening, or 2022, depending on events. And then long-term, I am excited to be in the place of public speaking, content creation, and then just helping my one-on-one clients achieve these months of 10K, 20K, 30K a month.
It's so spectacular to hear you talk that way, just because it seems like I still have like this, my brain fights with itself, 10K, 20K, 30K, and spiritual. What? It just doesn't compute. And so I think the more that you say it, the more you say it, because it's real, you're doing this. It's putting that energy out there. For some reason in our society, and maybe it's because the feminine hasn't gotten the due that it has, that it should have, in the past several hundred years, many hundreds of years, is that the healers, the teachers, the people who are there giving those, I don't know, soft skills, probably not the word, but you know what I'm saying. We're not facts and figures. We're not building things, have not received the amount of pay that they deserve. I think teachers should be the most paid. They're responsible for children's lives and then therefore society and how it shapes the people who are nurses and, the healers. I'm hoping that by you doing the work you're doing and more people stepping into it, that society will shift in the direction of being able to support people more and value more those types of professions. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It comes back to our own responsibility to make that happen.
Yes.
Charging what we're worth and stepping into the space as a business owner, because you are a business. And that's the other shift too. We touched on it earlier, where in the spiritual and healing space, a lot of people just think, oh, I'm just helping people you're helping change their lives.
Yeah, that's not a small thing.
This is not a small thing. And also you are a business. So you need to operate and think like one. Otherwise, it's just a hobby.
That's right. That's exactly right. So you have so many amazing things to offer right now. What is the best way people can work with you?
So one of the things that I would love for people to join is my free Facebook community. It's called Soul Career Clarity. I do 15-minute trainings every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can join by going to join.laurenturton.com. And friend request me on Facebook, Lauren Turton. Follow me on Instagram, Lauren Turton. And I am offering one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, please get a hold of me and we'll just have a no pressure conversation to see where you're at now, where you want to go, and if I can support your journey.
I hope everybody took note of that. I will have it in the show notes as well. Lauren, you have so much to offer, and I really just am grateful that people like you are shining stars, standing in your power and your light at the same time, and being able to really connect those two worlds of business and spirituality and wellness, which, has been separate for so long. Is there any kind of last words you'd like to share, parting words with our audience today?
Just launch. If you're working on something and you're thinking about it, just launch, put it out there, and then you're going to optimize and scale from there. Also, you need client-driven feedback in order to properly create something. And you can't get that feedback unless you launch. So just put it out there, start helping people. You are going to flourish once you do this, but you can't unless you launch.
By doing something, you receive information back. And that's when you can fine tune and put yourself in the position where, like, the road that you really want to be on.
And I'm a very transparent person. I'll share with you all. I launched my offer and launched my program months ago, and I've been working with clients. My membership site is still not created, and I have a dozen clients. So you don't have to have everything created and perfect and polished. Like, you just got to start solving problems for people.
I feel very encouraged and energized by what you said. So thank you so much for sharing that with the audience today. It means so much to have you here, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Lighthouse Conversations. If this show resonates with you, it would mean so much to have you rate, review, and share. Don't forget to follow us at chellycanales.com and on social media.